Welcome to GamesAnimal TV 2 in glorious 480 pixels. Fuck the haters. GamesAnimal! Unstoppable! GamesAnimal! GamesAnimal! Unstoppable! GamesAnimal!
We are GamesAnimals.
Okay, welcome back to episode 2 of GamesAnimal TV. Thank you for coming back and joining us again. I want to start off by picking up the hot potato that was dropped in the first show, and that was a lot of people seem to have a problem with sexism. Apparently 5 girls in beautiful GamesAnimal bikinis dancing around to my song Bikini Babes on Beat 'em Ups is sexist and has no place in the modern games industry, which seems a shame for the modern games industry, really. But if bikinis are sexist, then I'll go along with that. I've had my assistant Lara take the bikinis off all the girls, and so there'll be none of that 90s titillation in this show. I would hate to be seen as a, thank you, Treacle, as a misogynistic monster. I mean, I was called the UK's Donald Trump, I was called a caveman, and we don't want any of those cheap titillation tactics in this show. Let's get on with it.
I am GamesAnimal.
Okay, so I think we firmly established there'll be no sexism on this show. And it's time now to give you, the viewers, what you want. We had a vote last show between Mario and my old box of tat. And I think that you quite categorically stated that you had a little walk down memory lane, a little bit of a retro rummage through my box. So here it is. Did tell you it was tatty. It's been in my garage for years. It's been in my attic when I moved. I did sell my whole game collection 3 years ago, but these will be just little mementos, little reminders from my career, from a bygone era of gaming. And I can be 100% honest with you and tell you I have not looked through this box. This box has just been sat there like this in my attic. I thought, don't want to look through it because it'd be more spontaneous, you know. We'll have more fun together looking through this now and see what it sparks off. That was the deal, if I remember rightly. So let's take a look. Let's turn it around. And first off, of course, protecting everything at the top. Bandanas, of course. Bandanas. Back in the day, you know, towards the end of my TV career and magazine career, I was having these babies screen printed. Unstoppable GamesAnimal. It seemed to make sense. I was appearing on so many shows back then, so why not brand it? Why not go that little bit extra instead of just wearing a bandana? Actually make the effort and you know, have them branded up, have them screen printed. So I had a whole ton of these done over the years. A lot of them I've given away. Like I say, when I sold the games collection 3 years ago, I had a lot of old fans of the shows and of myself getting in touch. They wanted bits of memorabilia if I had it. A lot asked for the bandanas, and a fair few bandanas have been sent away, particularly the more notable ones like the Stars and Stripes one I wore for most of my career, and also the Union Jack one that I wore in the famous Christmas special on Games Master. They've all been given to people. They've all got good homes. Funnily enough, in all the comments from the fallout on our first show a few weeks back from when I recorded this, somebody who has my Eliminator jacket from Games World and who has my golden joystick from the Games Master days got in touch with me and told me they were safe and they've still got them. So that's very, very good. It's nice to know that things are being looked after properly. Let's have a look. What else have we got? This is a box of old pictures. of me through the years. Not really very gamey. A bit later on, maybe. Picture of me with Louise Redknapp, opening Oxford Megastore, I believe. You probably can't see them very well. I'll try and scan a few and put them up, but there's some pictures in here of Games Master Season 1. Some wonderful pictures of myself with Dominic. And Season 2, there's some on there as well. So old pictures, if I try and show them to you now in front of the camera, you're not going to be able to see them, so I'll try and scan them in later and we'll...
I am GamesAnimal.
What else have we got in here? More bandanas. I used to love boxing games a lot, and here's some really strange ones that I've kept. I wonder why I've kept this one. This one I've kept, I think, because this is King of Boxing, or Victory Boxing, for the Sega Saturn. No, I used to love the Sega Saturn Victory Boxing games. I think that's it's a JVC game. Victory Boxing, King of Boxing in another country, obviously. But I kept a lot of these old discs that I had because basically I wasn't sure how safe they were. Pirates and so forth, I didn't know how much protection was on these discs. These were how the press used to get sent discs back in the day. They were unfinished. We used to get them before most people got them, so they were pretty crude. So any that was sent to me, I would always look after them very, very carefully because I didn't want them to fall into the wrong hands. Now I don't know why I've kept this one. This is amazing. Caesar's World of Boxing from the CDI. Does anyone remember the CDI? It was a format that came out. It was pretty much a precursor to DVD, if you like, in that for the first time we were able to watch movies, etc. on CD. I mean, obviously you had laser televisions before that, but those were laser discs, were great big discs like albums, like vinyl albums. But CDI came out and it was a gaming format as well. Games like Burn Cycle and Eighth Guest, Seventh Guest, can't quite remember the name of the game. Games like that, and the Laserdisc games, of course, like Space Ace and things like that, and Dragon's Lair. These things all came out in CDI because they had a lot of visual imagery, and the format was perfect for it. But on the whole, it stunk. The standard controller that came out with it was like a TV remote, if you like, but with like a little joystick in the middle for your thumb. The whole thing was like a brushed gunmetal grey, and it just wasn't much fun to play. And they brought out some controllers later on, but all in all, stinky. But it got us talking about CDI, so that's good. The game's there. I'm glad the game's there, because otherwise we might have forgotten about the format. There's another boxing game, Victory Boxing Challenger. So now I'm going to start to see a pattern. The two Victory Boxing games, JVC. Love the Victory Boxing games, but this one particularly, I know why I've kept this one, because JVC put me in it. I'm actually one of the boxers in it, Dave The Animal Perry, I think it is. And it looks nothing like me. But I also think if there's a mode in there where you can actually have a boxing match between myself and Dominic Diamond as fighters, I believe that's in there. I haven't played it for a long time, but I kept it, not because I wanted to fight Dominic Diamond on a regular basis, but because it's cool to be in a game, right? So I kept that one. I've been in a few games over the years. The Sensible Soccer game, Sensible World of Soccer. I'm a midfield player in there somewhere in one of the teams. There's been quite a few games I've been in. I forget them, but people used to put them in. Famously, I think Micro Machines put Violet Berlin in there as one of the riders, and that was a good one to get. Wow. I'd forgotten I even had this. Now, this is something very, very rare. It's probably not very, very valuable, and probably a lot of people will think it's arse. But for me, this is quite funny. Interesting story, because this is a prototype, and this is the only one I'm aware of in existence in the whole world This is the Dave Perry combat pad. Yeah, you having that? The Dave Perry combat pad. Now, basically, my agent at the time was looking at endorsements, and PC joypad manufacturer, I'm not quite sure who, it's being a prototype, it's got no copyright on it, this one, I can't remember, came to me, and great idea, why not get the guy who's acknowledged as being the best games player in the country, certainly on beat 'em ups at the time. I was traveling all over the country, taking on all comers in tournaments, etc. So why not work on him, on perfecting some joypads that are perfect for fighting games, because PC didn't have that. You see, a lot of fighting games were starting to come out on the PC, but with PC joysticks, etc., weren't suitable for it, and the joypads were very rudimentary. So we were going to do that. Then they came up with the idea. There was a world champion, I think he was karate or some martial arts, called Neil Axe at the time, and somebody put together a fighting game with him in it. So they thought, right, we'll do the Neil Axe game, and what we'll do is, for deluxe versions, we'll package the Dave Perry combat pad with it. So you get a special pad by the best beat 'em up player in the country, to go with a game centered around the guy who's best at beating people up in the country. So it was a nice idea, and they came out with this prototype. But then something happened with the Neil Axe franchise. So the game never came out, the license, which left the joypad idea up in the air. And I think their fingers were a bit burnt over the game, and everything just died down. But to this day, I still have the joypad, and nearly had my own range of joypads, combat pads out there. Still might like to do that if somebody's watching this. Let's do it. Let's do an endorsed range. Why not? Let's work on it. Work on the ergonomics and get the best fighting pads out there we can. Yeah, cool.
I am GamesAnimal.
Right. I got a feeling this is going to have a lot of interesting shit in it. Right, you ready? You sitting comfortably? Because we could be a while. But first off, let's see what we got here. Okay. These. Now, when Games World and Games Master started getting big, I used to get recognised, and people used to approach me and get me to sign all sorts of things, bits of paper, serviettes in restaurants and so forth. One little boy once came up to me, and I remember I was eating a burger in Poole, and he came up to me and he wanted something signed, and what do you have? So you scrabble around and you sign a serviette. And it's a bit rubbish, so I thought, right, let's do a preemptive strike. So I went and saw Richard at Paragon, and I said, can we do some Dave Perry signing cards? So what we did was some black and white signing cards with me on the front, the Paragon logo on it to advertise the magazines, and then on the back, nothing. So I could sign that for fans. And then at the TV shows, etc., when the audiences were on a break and they were trying to meet us and they were sitting and chatting with us, we would, sign things, and I'd have special cards to sign for them. So that was a nice thing to do, I thought. And then what else have I got in here? Lots of business cards from over the years. Games World magazine, which was the licensed magazine for the TV show I worked on, Games World, for Sky for years. Now this one's interesting. Okay. Now, people who really know me and know my history will know that I started off in gaming proper at a company called Special Reserve Intermediates Limited. Now, back in the day, there was no internet. Okay, so if you wanted all the latest games and you wanted them at a bit of a discount, you joined a mail order club. Special Reserve and Intermediate were Europe's biggest. When you joined them, you joined a certain area of the club, and you got subscription magazines. Now you see where I'm going. That's where I got into magazines, because I was writing freelance at the time. I was also traveling all over the country in a converted bus with the fairgrounds and with the conventions and that. Not games conventions, normal conventions. And I was making signs and business cards for the fairground people and that. In this bus we had generators to power the computers, etc. And then when we went through London one day, I said, I want to go and see this mail order company who I get a subscription magazine from, because I think I can do it better than they do it. So I went and saw them. Luckily they had a deputy editor's position at the time. I interviewed for it, and I got the job. And a year later, I was the publishing manager there. And from there, got approached to go and do Games Master with Hewlin. But anyway, these are my business cards. Now, what's interesting is Intermediates Limited. That one's Dave Perry, so obviously that's me. This is about from the 80s, late 80s. This one is my business card, and this one is Kid Westworld. Now, Kid Westworld was my nom de plume at the time. I would write under two different names. I'd write under Dave Perry, and I'd write under Kid Westworld. Two reasons. One, I was writing for a lot of role-playing magazines at the time. Kid Westworld sounded more role-playery. Two was that some of the people I was writing for, some of the magazines didn't have a lot of journalists writing for them. So if I wrote under two different names, they could make it look like they had a bigger bank of writers writing for them. So that was what I did. Later on in Mega Power, I would challenge the champions of all the software companies around the country, and the idea was they'd send their champions down to me to play on the games that their company had put out or was putting out. It's a promotion thing for them, and it was a nice bit of competition for me, and it was also endorsing my credentials as this #1 games player. And but back then, if anyone's got old copies of Mega Power and they look at them, you'll see I am called the Kid, Dave the Kid Perry, which sounds naff as hell now, but that came as an abbreviation from Kid Westworld, which was my nom de plume in role-playing circles. And then later on I became the GamesAnimal. So I guess I've always been kind of playing a character, because why not? It just makes it all more fun, and it makes you memorable. So what else have I got in here? This is I'm sure I've got this in colour somewhere, but basically a journalist for a rival publishing company cleverly wrote an article about me or in reference to me, and they used the first letter of every line or every paragraph, eventually spelt out something like Dave Perry is a wanker. Bloody brilliant, but not right. Okay, so I went to the publishers at the time and I told them I wanted an apology, and I didn't just want an apology. I wanted a picture of the guy who'd written the article on his knees, kissing my feet. And in the interests of not rubbing anyone's noses in it, I won't mention who the guy was, but what we agreed to do was, they agreed it had to happen, they agreed the guy had been wrong, but obviously nobody wanted to put the guy through actually kissing my feet. So what we did was, we got him photoshopped kissing my feet, and then we ran the advert across their magazines. So for all intents and purposes, this guy apologised and allowed a picture to be published of him kissing my feet, which I thought was pretty cool at the time. I mean, you can look at it now and say I was an arsehole for doing that, but I mean, why should people get away with shit? Right. Next up, photographs. Right Said Fred. You remember Sonic? Was it Sonic 3 or Sonic 2? Gosh knows which Sonic it was. But they did the music for it, if I remember rightly. They also released the song into the charts, if I remember rightly as well. And I went up and saw them. Bit of a PR jaunt. They were on the wane, but they'd been a big deal with I'm too sexy for my shirt and all that. So I went up and saw them. And that was a pleasant day out. Picture of myself. I remember this sports bar in London, some football game coming out. We got invited. Lots of top football stars invited there, past and present. So we went, free drinks, typical journo day out. I didn't know who anyone was on there, but left to right, Jeremy Wells, PC Zone, Pete Hardy, PC Zone, Dave Perry XGen. So there we all stood with Terry Venables having a chat. Interesting story about that from that one. I was a long-term fan of George Best, and I was at this junket, and my mate came over to me and he said, "Dave, have you seen it over there?" I'm like, "No, it's George Best." Oh my God. So George Best was a particular hero of mine. I've been reading lots of books on him up to that point and everything, and it would have been so great to have met him. We tried to get him on Games Master Season 1,
He was due to play Emlyn Hughes on a special made version of Konami's football game at the time. I think it was Chrysalis, actually. I think it was Chrysalis. It was the Manchester United game at the time. And what we did was we got Chrysalis to program two teams, the Liverpool's greatest side of all time and Manchester United's greatest side of all time. And the idea was George Best would play Manchester United against Emlyn Hughes playing Liverpool's team, and of course they'd be in the teams, etc. And at the last minute, Jane Hewlin, the owner of Hewlin, decided not to use George because he had a bit of a reputation for being unreliable, and we were on very tight schedules. So we didn't get to use George on the show, which was very regrettable for me, because I would have loved to have met the man and shown him how to play a video game. I mean, how awesome would that be, showing George Best how to play video games? But anyway, there he was, sat by himself in the pub. So I thought, right, I don't want to be one of these guys. I don't want to go over there and hound him. So I'll wait, give him a few minutes, get a Guinness. I'm a Guinness drinker myself, and I'll take the Guinness over, hand the Guinness to George, and I'll have a Guinness with him, say hi, tell him how much his football has meant to me, get him to sign something, have a little selfie, and then walk away. So anyway, Terry Venables came over to the bar, so I remember from that photograph, and we stood and talked for a little bit. Yeah, Terry Venables was a nice guy, he'd been England manager at that time and everything, but I wasn't all that interested. I wanted to get over to George, so after being polite with Terry Venables, I turned around and he'd gone. George Best, the mercurial character that he is, had decided that he'd had enough of being at some press junket and just went. And never got a chance to see him again, and of course now I never will. So, George Best.
Dave Perry ate my hamster.
There he was. More photographs. Me with Danny Bear. Oxford Street, one Saturday. I got no shirt on. God knows. What was I thinking? You know, it was incredible times. I think it was, God, Accolade, Bubsy 2. They paid for the promotion. We picked up Danny Bear in a stretch limousine. She had the shortest mini skirt on I've ever seen. I'm sat there in leather trousers with a leather jacket on and no shirt underneath. God knows. We got out the limousine, 50, 60 paparazzi, bulbs in your face. Until you've had cameras like that going off in your face, you cannot appreciate what it must be like for these serious celebrities. And Danny was big news at the time because she was seeing Ryan Giggs, who was just breaking through at Man United and was pretty much the hottest thing on two legs in football. So we had a great day. Huge crowd there. We had barriers and security there. We had people come up and play on Bubsy, do the challenges, and we sat down, did some signings, threw some t-shirts to the crowd. Great day. That was the kind of thing I used to do. This is another photograph probably many of you have seen before. Neville Brothers and me up at Old Trafford. I used to do a lot of work with the Daily Mirror, and one day they had a product out, I think it's called Power Play. That's some kind of cheat code product, and they wanted me to promote it, so they flew me up to Old Trafford to watch Man United practice at their old Cliff training ground, which was an amazing experience to see players of that quality playing five-a-side, Beckham, Giggsy, Schmeichel, Pallister against Robson, Keane, Scholesy, Bruce, just phenomenal to watch, unbelievable. And then afterwards, I got given a lift back to Old Trafford, where I sat waiting for the Man United star who would come and do the promotional shoot with me. I was hoping for Bex or Giggs or Cantona. What I got was the Neville brothers, because at the time the country was going superstition crazy, because it was looking like being the first time we'd gone to a World Cup with two brothers in the team since we won it in '66. So they were great guys, nice guys. I got to go all over Old Trafford. I wasn't allowed on the pitch, but I was allowed to touch the pitch and changing rooms. I sat in Alex Ferguson's office, and just a great time. But the best part of it was I came out afterwards and I got mobbed. Incredible, because at Old Trafford there are tons of people permanently stood around hoping to get autographs from the players, hoping that somebody is going to come out and they're going to be able to get something signed by them. That day it was me. I walked out. A few of them recognised me off the TV shows, told the others. They just came and got everything they had signed by me they could, to the point that we created such a roadblock that security had to move us. And but in those days no one had their phones, no one was selfieing, which was a shame, because I would have loved a picture of me being mobbed outside Old Trafford. A little bit of a schoolboy fantasy maybe, but no one got it. No one got it on camera. Let's have a look what else we got here. Yeah, Mega Mirror. These were the games pages that the Daily Mirror used to do back in the day, and they used to get me involved with, send me off to playing challenges and meet famous people and play video games. There were league tables when my scores would be up on the league tables, which would be in the national papers, which was pretty cool. Didn't do it for anyone else. Ant and Dec, how young do they look there? Anyway, let's have a little look. What else have we got that you guys are going to find interesting? Because there's a lot of stuff in here. I can go through it in more detail later on if you want. Let's have a look. The venue. Nightclub. This is something else I used to do a lot. Ministry of Sound. I used to play in games in most of the major nightclubs around the country. Video gaming was just starting. A lot of nightclubs were starting to put PlayStations, etc., in certain areas of the club for revelers to enjoy. And I would go along, and around about midnight I'd come out on stage, take on all challenges on a big screen while the music was playing. Please excuse my phone. This was one I did when I was at Play. Obviously, there's a Play logo on it. All over the country doing these things. As the Dave Perry challenge. That one was raising money for Wessex Heartbeat. Dave and Danny Bear again, this time at HMV Level 1. Dave the Kid Perry and an Alliance Leicester game computer challenge. Probably raising money for charity again. For a long time, I raised a lot of money for Bliss, baby life support systems, because I had a young brother who died and was kept alive for 3 months on a life support system, and so that was my charity of choice for a while. Now, along with my family, I tend to raise money for cancer research, having lost relatives on my wife's side to cancer over the years. Okay, here's another one. Dave Perry, Unstoppable Games Animal. Can you see it? Basically, this was evolution from the smaller signing cards I showed earlier. This was a full colour one with a picture of me on. And on the back you got my magazines, X-Gen, Play. And what we decided to do was to be a bit cuter with this one, do it in full colour. You got a little signing area there where I'll sign an autograph, but you get a full subscription form with a special offer as well for the magazines. So now I was meeting loads of people out at events and tournaments and on the TV shows, and I was effectively handing them subscription forms for my magazine. So yeah, a little bit of promotion.
Let's have a little look. Oh, that's me with Hunter, one of the gladiators. I used to travel all over the country with the gladiators. The Gladiators was a very big institution back in the 90s, huge show. These muscle band guys, these ex-professional athletes in many cases, would take on the general public in tournaments, and they would then travel all over the country, and particularly Virgin stores. I opened a number of Virgin stores for Richard Branson, and usually the package would be myself and a gladiator on video games with the kids, lots of photos, lots of press opportunities. There I am with another one. I'm not good with the names. Another gladiator opening a Virgin store, I believe. I should know their names, but I don't. Me with the Spice Girls opening a store. What else have I got here? Let's have a little look. It's a nice one. This was promoting
Sensible Soccer, I believe, or a version of Sensible Soccer at the time. It's myself with John Hare and Falcon from the Gladiators, again, another Gladiator. We're in store. I'm taking them on all comers. I've got one of the original Sony PlayStation shirts on by the looks of it. And John's got on a Norwich shirt because John is, or I believe he is, he was definitely a huge Norwich City fan. And a very good friend. He's going to be coming on the show at some point in the future. Great guy.
I am GamesAnimal!
That's what we got. Okay, start with this. The Independent magazine. Now, the Independent magazine was a supplement, colour supplement for the Independent newspaper on a Saturday. They sent top journalist Jessica Barons, who was writing regularly for The Face and many major style magazines and music magazines at the time, and she was interested in doing a feature on me. This one was called Forward Punch Kicks, a 5-page feature in full colour in a supplement in the magazine. No, nothing had ever happened like that before for a games player. The national newspapers generally weren't interested in them. It hasn't happened since, which is fucking disappointing, really. I mean, I thought when I started doing all this stuff in the 90s, bringing the games hobby, out of the trenches, out of the bedrooms, reaching out to the newspapers, television, radio, I thought everyone would follow. I thought we'd all have a great time. We'd all become mini celebs, but no, when I stopped doing it, no one else did it. Here's another one. This is, a lot of people ask me my proudest moments in gaming, and I was one of the team that launched the first video games TV show, Games Master. I did launch the UK's highest selling independent single format magazine. I had a lot of great moments, but this is the one I enjoy the most, and it pisses people off, I think. Company magazine. When as a games player, an area of celebrity where generally you're considered a nerd, to be a games player, professional games player, and be voted as one of Britain's 50 most eligible bachelors. I mean, come on. What guy's not going to love that? I mean, that never happened. Nothing like that has ever happened to someone in the games industry before. Never happened since. Never happened since. And I'm deeply proud of that. And I love the fact that all those women found me irresistible enough to vote for me. Anyway, okay.
I am GamesAnimal!
Let's have a little look. Okay, what's this? Television is not a god. Yeah, CTW, right? CTW, Computer Trade Weekly. Computer Trade Weekly was the paper. It was a weekly paper that came out, black and grey, and black and white, black and grey, I'm talking tattoo. And what happened with Computer Trade Weekly was everything that happened in the computer and games industry that week was in the magazine. Go figure. Now, it's long gone. It got replaced by MCV. Its editor at the time, Stuart Dimsey, he went off and helped create a new magazine. And they went head to head for a while, and then MCV eventually won out. But CTW, anybody who was anybody wanted to be in CTW, wanted lines in CTW. So I've got a few old articles they did. They would do every week. They would do an In the Hot Seat article, as you can see there, which was kind of like a little fairly lackadaisical interview, a little bit tongue-in-cheek with the movers and shakers in the games industry at the time. I did a few of these with them. Questions like, do you deliberately try and project an image that is actually quite different to a real Dave Perry? What's the real Dave Perry like? What's with the bandana? What are your weaknesses? How do you think you are perceived by the games industry? To which I answered, oh my God. That is that sort of thing, So yeah, I've got a fair few. There we go, CTWs in here, which are the old video games press.
He's GamesAnimal!
Okay, floppy disk, anyone? Okay, this floppy disk, I'm not sure what it opens in. It must open on a Mac. This basically, it says Dave's pick on it. Someone's written on it. I don't know who, but I know where it came from. It came from a company called Mirage, who had some good games back in the day. And this was from, they had a game called Rise of the Robots. Now, Rise of the Robots, everybody had high hopes for it. It looked great. Robot fighting game. There was an arcade version which looked amazing. And I went up to Nottingham to see it being developed and played it up there and talked to the guys. And the developers of the game itself at Mirage, they made me a game robot. So it's like a silver-faced robot with a bandana on and everything. And it's lovely 3D rendered. It's on that disc. I've kept it all these years. Obviously, I've not got it on the disc anymore. I've got it on hard drives, but I've kept the disc, lovely disc. And it's nice to see a floppy disk again, isn't it? So yeah, I'm going through here. Look, I've got a million photographs here. What to talk about.
I am GamesAnimal.
This is, it's nice. 1993. A letter from Hewland International, who of course for the people behind Games Master and Games World. It's from Jane. Congratulations on your performance. I think you're doing really well. I appreciate the more informed commentary. Ignore any jibes from Bob. Go for the jugular. Jane Hewland. That was nice. Nice message. That's obviously referring to Games World, where I worked with Bob Mills. Bob Mills, hilarious guy, but really quick and quite harsh with his wit. She needn't have been worried. Bob was great. I got on great with Bob, and he was just absolutely hilarious. And if he did go for you, it didn't matter because it was bloody hilarious when he did. Yeah, lots of photos here. I'd show them all to you, but I don't know. Me and Denise Van Outen and a band called Emanate from the day at the Ministry of Sound. What else have I got? You'd be interested in me signing autographs for a load of kids. Yeah, just great stuff. This is real old memory lane stuff.
I am GamesAnimal!
An old article from Sega Pro magazine. When I became the Games World Champion, I went on the TV show, took on all the magazine champions from all the publishing houses on the first season after turning down the chance to present on it because I didn't like the idea of they wanted me to present with two other guys. I wanted to present by myself. They gave me that in the second season, but first season I turned it down, and then I went back just to take on all the champions from all the other magazines just to prove I was number one, and won it. So that was done. That was that little article, a little bit of boasting about what we've achieved.
Okay, these aren't contracts here. What these are filming schedules. If you're interested in the shows, this is the kind of filming schedule you'd be given on Games World. This one's Games World Season 3. Contact list, location maps, phone numbers, and this is the kind of daily schedule you'd have if you're a presenter, telling you where to be, who's going to be on the show with you, what time to be there, what games you were playing, that kind of thing. And these are great to look back on. And this one in particular is, wow. Dates of filming: 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th of November 1991. Have a guess. Games Master. Games Master's filming schedule from the first ever Games Master. That's amazing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of filming, including setup and breaking down and taking apart. And that's all it took to make history, you know. Put that incredible show together. Once again, this is the I'll show you the schedules we have. You know, that's the kind of filming schedule we're given, telling you who's going to be on, what games they're going to be playing, who the celebrities are going to be. Let's have a look at this one. Who's on for this one? Shoot, Final Blow on the Amiga. The contestant is Gary Wilson. The guest is Barry McGuigan. The commentator will be Tom Watson. Tom Watson, of course, was with the Bitmap Brothers. We had Tim Boone, I think with CMVG. Someone called Dave Perry doing a competition here with Eric Bristow and with Emlyn Hughes. We had Neil West doing some shooting with us here. Oh, here's, here's a nice one. Audience A arrive. What's this? Saturday, 16th of November. Shoot Sonic Hedgehog Sega. Contestant Alex Very. Big Boy Barry. When he was just little boy Barry. And he came on the show and shot his Sonic Rings challenge. Neil West was commentating on that one, and I was in the afternoon doing RoboCod. Yeah, absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And on that show, of course, season 1, what people don't realise is, you know, the little monk bringing the joysticks on for Dominic. That was me as well. You know, we got there, we were filming. We had no one lined up to bring in the joysticks, so you know, I'll do it. So I put on a cassock and off I went. Right.
Is that good enough? Is that what you guys want? I'm just worried that this is getting to be really long, and I've still got these boxes here that I haven't even showed you yet. I've got boxes here full of advertising and original artworks from the magazines over the years. I think we'll probably do that another time. So anyway, that'll do for today's YouTube, I think. We've had a little walk down memory lane. I've jogged your memories, I hope, about a few things, told you a couple of stories. There's so many more stories to tell. But I'm told not to make these things too long. I mean, this is what apparently everybody wants. Nobody's got an attention span these days. So we can take a look at the folders of artwork in a future show. So anyway, thank you very much for coming back. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much to the people who've stood up for me in the comments and encouraged me in the comments. Fuck you to the ones who haven't. And I'll see you next time.
Oh, this is it. This is it. Turn it up. Turn it up. I told you. Look at these babes. Turn it up.
Bikini babes on beat 'em ups, up and down, up and down. Bikini babes on beat 'em ups, up and down, up and down. Bikini babes don't follow fashion. They're too busy button bashing. Bikini babes on beat 'em ups, up and down, up and down. Bikini babes on beat 'em ups, don't wear a frown, they wear the crown. Bikini babes on beat 'em ups, they're going up and down, they're going up and down. Bikini babes on beat 'em ups, look at them